just finished up being in San Antonio, and we're on our way back home. But we decided to take a little bypass and hit up the Lyndon Baines Johnson National Park, which features his boyhood home and his ranch, and is also his burial place, I believe.
Yeah, and it's raining, so we don't care. But anyway,
Yeah, it's a driving tour. We're going to go in
don't
and
care.
see more about what's going on and the details of it, and then we'll show you some highlights.
What we have here, now there are two parts to this park. Here you are in the Johnson City District. Here you're at the Visitor Center. We have two different movies we can turn on demand on Lady Bird and Lyndon Johnson. Across the street we have the Boyhood home, and then our next tour of that's coming up at 11 o'clock. And you will look for signs that look like this, State and National Park, similar names. What you would do is you would turn right into the state park, stop at the visitor center there, get a free driving pass. Now the state park has a living history farm, so they might really like. They have bison there, so they have a lot of things that we don't have. To get to the national park side, you would turn right, go along the river, and then you would enter the national park. Each stop relates to the president's life. Now this, just to know, this is about 7.5 miles from here all the way to what they call the Texas White House. So it's a slower speed limit. There's cows and things. There also might be cows in this show barn, which you can get out and take a look at. So we would make this trip. LBJ is here at 7 years of age. His family moved from Stonewall, where the ranch is, when he was 5, and that was 1913. This house was built by someone else named Russell, who was a rancher, sheriff in the town in the early 1900s. And to get an idea of what this looked like, look at Ava Johnson there, one of his cousins, standing on what you see right here. So it's very hard scrabble landscape. The hill country is a very poor area trying to make a living. And the Johnsons really tried to be as self-sustained as possible with the place where LBJ stood. He'd be looking out at the audience right here, announcing his political campaign. Now, it's no coincidence that how did he become a very accomplished politician? How did he learn how to debate? How did he learn some of those skills? Well, partly from his father, who was a legislator in the Texas legislature for 12 years. LBJ became glued to the political scene when he was a young boy and really learned a lot. And porch here is where his mom would have taught him debating skills. Just so happens that LBJ, his professional job, the first one, was as a teacher, and he was a debate coach of champion debaters, and of course went on to politics. Well, the room over there didn't look like that when LBJ was growing up, of course. That would have been his sister's room. 3 sisters. He was the oldest of 5. He had 1 brother. That room has sustained some water damage, so they're redoing that. It was furnished. Most of the furnishings are period piece from the 1920s. That's when LBJ was a teenager, so the house is meant to recreate that. There are some original ones. I'll point some of those out. Father is on that wall up there. He is Sam Jr., Sam Ely Johnson Jr., the son of the man that we saw in the first sign. Now, looks like he was really well educated, all these law books and stuff. He didn't have the money to have an education, but he had a keen intellect, absorptive memory, and he learned quite a bit on his own. Dining room here was the hub of activity for meals and dominoes, such as you see on the shelf, homework, debates, discussions. Now, of course, his siblings and he were mischievous or gigglers or naughty at times, so if they did that around the table, they would be sent to the crying gallery, which is also the sleeping porch. As you see, the Johnsons had some pretty nice things, Trolla, things like that, but again, it really doesn't tell the story of how the family's fortunes went up and down. Above her actual desk. This is Sam, her husband, Johnson's father. Original pieces would include this chair, now, President Johnson graduated from high school here in Johnson City. Now, keep saying Johnson and Johnson. Well, LBJ left his stamp and still leaves his stamp in many ways. But the Johnson name came from his grandfather's nephew, James Polk Johnson, who actually helped lay out the schema of the town.
Nice.
It's on the floor. The linoleum is original. It looks like it. This is the final porch, and this is where we'll conclude and wrap up the tour. The first porch was the front porch, of course, place where Rebecca taught debating skills. Johnson would have delivered speeches there. The porch we didn't actually see, but it's in from the parents' room. That was Sam the father's porch. That was the political porch, talking politics. Voices could be raised. Colorful language used, maybe a bottle passed around. The Johnson family is very different from the Baines family, which is extremely conservative. So that's why they have 2 separate porches. And then they would have this porch, and now, what do you think this porch was used for? Sleeping porch, that's right. Only maybe a couple beds pulled out if there were guests. Now, if someone needed a place to stay, you only had to ask Sam Ely Johnson, who would offer you a place. That's his father, very hospitable, warm-hearted.
Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. I have no food for you. I'm sorry. You want to come see me anyway? Huh? I guess I could have brought some jerky. Oh, wait, that'd been wrong. I'm sorry. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
The cemetery of the Johnson family, the resting place of Lyndon Baines Johnson, 36th President of the United States.
So we're here at Lyndon B. Johnson National Park, and it's kind of humbling to think that one of the most powerful men, of the free world, was basically he was born right here in this house on this beautiful piece of property, and everything he's accomplished in life, from being the president and all the politics and everything he's done and seen, and now he's laid to rest just right across the little street there at the Johnson National Cemetery. And so it's just very humbling, to come back to your birthplace like this.
Oh, it's dark. I don't know that y'all are going to be able to see much. Maybe.
Welcome to this early Texas farmhouse where the 36th President of the United States was born. It was 1907 when Sandy D. Johnson, the President's father, brought his bride, Rebecca Baines Johnson, across the threshold to their first home. Texas was still close to its frontier. Arrowheads left from Indian camps could still be found along the riverbed, and many old-timers could spin yarn about the Civil War, and even occasionally the Battle of San Jacinto. Texas was still a young state. By the end of the year, in the United States, 50,000 automobiles had been manufactured, and it was soon to hear that all flight had made a second successful flight of 1 hour and 14 minutes. But none of these events were to equal, in the eyes of the young couple who lived here, their own blessed event, which came on August 27, 1980. In the words of my mother-in-law, that was the day Lyndon Baines Johnson discovered America.
These cows know that they're presidential cows, or they're just, they're not normal cows.
So we're still at the LBJ National Park. It's a little windy out here and we're jeeping it today, so excuse the rough looks. But behind us is Air Force One. And we're about to go take a look at that, and then we're going to check out the Texas White House. So we hope that you'll come with us.
Yep.
So this is inside. And this is actually Air Force 1.5, which none of us had ever heard of. But it's the smaller version for his quick private trips to here. And it was amazing. And he and Lady Bird and their beagles, and sometimes their guests, would use this to fly out. Can't you just see him and the puppies? Pretty cool. So LBJ would go and collect people from Air Force 1.5 to bring them to the Texas White House, and he'd use this golf cart. And then this fire truck was a gift from the town of Brady. And he didn't use it for putting out fires necessarily, but instead he had benches added to the back of it so that he could transport guests around the ranch. That's style for sure. And then this is a very cool car because it's amphibious.
So here, the president would take people for a ride and end up like running them off into the lake, like LBJ, and unsuspecting, they didn't know it was an amphibious car, and he got great pleasure out of.
Sounds like he was a jokester. That's a pretty car.
The car's got mud grips. What the heck?
That's a ranch.
It's a ranch car.
It's a ranch car. 34 Phaeton that he turns into a hunting vehicle.
An all-terrain hunting vehicle.
With a full wet bar. That's classic.
And two gun holders.
Well, of course, if you're going to hunt, you have to place to put your gun.
Yeah.
So this is the Texas White House. I'm coming in from the side. But the sad part about this is it's closed right now because it's become structurally unstable. And they're going to work to try and fix it. But right now, it's closed for tours. They do have guided yard tours, but we missed that one. And we're kind of in a hurry today, sort of. So we're going to take a walk around and read the signs ourselves. Can you just imagine?
Oh yeah.
Have a cabinet meeting under a live oak.
He had, I mean,
I know.
he was truly a true Texan that never forgot who he was. I feel like he was.
That's what they say. Look how beautiful. Said you can walk the fence line.
Yeah. So I guess it means we can walk up in the grass.
I guess. Pretty humble. I mean, it's lovely, but considering the man was coming from the White House, but he preferred to stay here. I like that.
So, did the Secret Service come with him when he got
Oh,
there?
100%. President doesn't go anywhere without his Secret Service people. Especially since he was the president that took over after JFK. Cute little pool.
That's a nice size pool.
Well, this has been a good afternoon out here.
Yeah, this is I didn't really know what to expect coming out here. You know, other than, you know, Jen's like, hey, let's go out to this LBJ thing. I'm like, okay, let's go. But anyway, once I get out here and start realizing the history that's out here and all there is to see, and it's just it was a different time. And it really is humbling to, you know, think how we used to live back in the
50s
The
and
50s,
60s,
60s.
70s. He died in 73. Lady Bird Johnson didn't die to 2007. But this is a beautiful place, and it's wonderful that the National Park Service, which Lady Bird Johnson helped to start, has preserved so much of this for everyone to enjoy. And what my darling husband, Professor, is discovering, and something that I think we all need to remember, is there's history everywhere, and there's information and wonderful things to see everywhere, and you just have to get out there and look for it. So don't be afraid to follow a sign on the road, because you never know what adventure's waiting around that corner.
Yeah, I would like to say, you know, we made the weekend trip down to San Antonio, and normally, you know, you ride the major freeway from Dallas to San Antonio, and you never see this stuff. You never even know it's here. And so, you know, be an adventurer. Get off the main roads and look and see what you can run into.
Jump on America's highways and have some fun.
Yep. So anyway, until the next adventure, you know, y'all come along with us.
That's right. And if you've had fun on this adventure or any of our others, we always appreciate if you subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it, and share us with your friends, because we're having a good time talking with you all and sharing our adventures.
All right.